focusing on the Mishnah, like I mentioned, this is where it really just draws attention because it is the most frequently throughout the entirety of the Mishnah. So it really there's almost nothing to do really until the end of the fourth chapter. And really it's weird because there's like nothing to do with it being libated. It's more of just potential. It's like contaminated by Gentile possession. It's not actually that we see libation occurring.
Yeah.
It's more of the concern, the danger, potential. It's the potential for it. But really, chapter 5 in the Mishnah of Avodah Zarah begins with a discussion of what happens of not being involved in the trade or other commercial activities involving this Gentile wine. So again, it's not necessarily that it's actively or even actually being libated or having been libated. It's just it's more of a being like the Gentiles possess it and control it, and therefore it's suspect.
Right. Yeah. Now, one of the intriguing things about that, actually, you find this not just with wine in the discussions on Avodah Zarah throughout the tractate is, and this is one thing that surprised me as I went into my dissertation research, there's almost no actual discussion of idolatry as such in Avodah Zarah. It's all about sort of, everything on the, the
periphery.
Yeah, exactly. So it's intriguing. Of course, the sages love, edge cases. That's their favorite place to talk about things.
Yeah.
But it's intriguing with the wine because it sort of actually Avodah Zarah in general sort of becomes this discussion. They talk about benefit, and there's a whole discussion about whether you can use broken pieces of statues. Can you sell them? Can you build with them? It's sort of the same kind of thing there, where the question is less, the ritual's already presumed in a lot of ways. It's already that's already been done, or it's going to be done. Then you have it, and the question is, what do you do with it? Can you sell it? When can you sell it? When can you not sell it? When can you buy it?
Wow. Okay. Wow, that's really fascinating. I hadn't thought about it. You're right. The way you frame it, it's more on the periphery. They don't even just bother discussing the actual libation at all in the Mishnah anywhere in the Mishnah. It's just about Yין nesech. It's theirs.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah. And later on in chapter 5, it also talks about the possibilities of Jewish wine being potentially contaminated also by Gentiles interacting with it. So we'll sort of initially in the end of chapter 4, it talks about like grapes. When do they become susceptible to becoming potentially wine / Yין nesech? And then chapter 5 is it's in their possession, or it could become ultimately contaminated, whether it's with an army, whatever. So I think the most deeply fascinating thing is just that it's not actually being actively libated in the Mishnah. It's more of just it's potentially contaminated or controlled or possessed by Gentiles.
Yeah, and the contamination seems to be because of libation, but again, it's a Mishnah. It's just a presumption.